Do you have to throw the books? I brought my own, so I don't have this problem. It's too late now.
Yeah. It was closed. Yes.
It's not a snow day. They're not allowed to make us work because of like internet access and stuff.
But you were at
I have it. Don't worry, I live far enough into the woods that like some people's parents don't put Wi-Fi in their house. Don't have like computers or stuff. There's so many people like, don't worry, you know, people online.
You have to do it 3 times for him because France.
Oh, right. How many people?
Yeah.
It's lovely. My husband's watching the live stream. Yes. If you're debilitated, that's when you'll get something. Hi.
Trying to get away from them. Yeah, they're trying to get back now. Yeah. 3 feet, 3 feet. So we have
It's a sticker for your water bottle. Yeah? Sorry you came back from your vacation. You could be marooned in Florida, right?
I'm glad I got back.
Better than you have to try to take it. You have to worry about anything. The airports are scary. I would think it would be scary too. Rabbi just traveled. She said that the plane was packed, and I couldn't conceive of that. I wouldn't want to get on a plane right now.
Yeah, Susan Nygaard was out there last night.
Oh, right, nice. Yeah, I was surprised when she said, I mean, and all she was worried about was the pillowcase. That was really interesting. Well, they said all these people from TSA are getting sick now, which means that, you know, it's around, which is sort of no, but I don't know. Good time to be home with the dog. hope that there aren't too many people at the Meadows who are sick. And we still walk every day there.
Yeah, well, I was,
Try not to, but sometimes you forget, and the dog jumps on you and the owner tries to come over to get it. And it's okay.
I might try walking out.
Yeah.
My glasses wide.
Oh, they did close then.
You know, the eyes open, but there's some glasses and small pool.
So why is it still open? I'm surprised.
And they were together. Eyes and
No.
oh, no, go to that Middletown.
Oh, I can't imagine it's behind.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Maybe they're all connected in a distant way.
Right, and they said that you can't go to otherwise.
You could, yeah, because I understood go back to see what's working for
Yeah.
It's ironic.
So it's up to you.
Yes, I would like that because I definitely need that.
Yeah, this,
Yes, I'm happy that I have a ton of gardening to do. And that will keep me at least moving around. We had some trees cut down last week, and and luckily, because who knows where to go, we'll still be walking, driving around and taking stuff away. But we had 2 ash trees, and a piece of an ash came down in our yard, and he said, they're both dead. You should really get rid of them. So one belonged to the neighbor, and one belonged to us. So he took both of them down, the neighbor came first, but he drove his earth moving equipment right through our seasonal stream. So totally wrecked for, as wide as one of those machines are. So I was working on trying to fix that up and bulk it up so that the water would still run.
now's the time of the year.
Yeah, the water's still really cold. So I got into the thing to get all the brush and the leaves out. And then they had the Charlie horse, and I said, oh, I need the exercise.
So you get more light, it's sad and all those trees are dying.
Well, it's the opposite side of our yard, so it's not going to make much of a difference. My husband, of course, he doesn't. I was going to come too.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Oh, and hi, there's people watching.
Yes,
I think our family's just in the bathroom. Making sure they do that. Thank you all for being here despite the whatever. Shabbat Shalom. We can do even better than that. We're going to add even more ruach, even more spirit. Ready? Okay, here we go. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. That's fantastic. Good Shabbos. Bruchim habaim. Welcome to this glorious day. Shabbat would always be a reason to celebrate, to enjoy being together, to enjoy the day of rest and renewal and rejuvenation. But we have an extra special reason to enjoy being together, and that's because today is the day on which we celebrate Sadie becoming a bat mitzvah, a daughter of the commandments, or as we like to say, an adult in the Jewish tradition. And so throughout our service this morning, Sadie is going to be participating in all kinds of new rituals and rites for which she is now eligible as an adult in the Jewish community. And Cantor Belinda and I will be helping her to fulfill these new rituals and rites throughout our service, and we will explain them as we go along. Hopefully everyone had a chance to grab a prayer book, a siddur, as we call them, on your way in. And we'll be announcing page numbers as we go. And if your book happens to strangely have 2 page numbers in every corner, yeah, go ahead and grab one. We'll take a sec if you didn't have a chance to get one. Go ahead, take a moment. If your book has 2 page numbers in the corner, as we announce page numbers, please follow the ones in the brackets. Okay, we'll follow the page numbers in the brackets. We are also so excited that Meg Gister is with us on piano this morning, adding her special neshama, her special soul to our music. So we are going to open with something called a nigun, which is a song without words. A nigun traditionally allows us to add our own souls, our own wordless prayers, whatever we feel like we want to say on this morning to the prayer. It's really easy to follow along, so we hope you will join us. Is an invitation to wear a talit, or a tallis, a prayer shawl. The Torah, our sacred text, tells us that we should wrap ourselves in a garment that has fringes on the 4 corners. And when we look at these fringes, when we hold them, we are reminded of all the mitzvot, there's 613, all the commandments that we are responsible for as adult Jews. And when we touch them, when we see them, we will have this wonderful reminder. And so Sadie has elected to start wearing one of these beautiful garments this morning, and I would like to invite up her parents, Izzy and Jeff, to present her with one today.
asher krishanu v'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'hitatei v'tzitzi.
Amen.
We can just air hug.
We're going to allow intra-family hugs and kisses. And what else is on the
We continue on page 192.
Page 195.
Don't let me fall, as a stone falls upon the hard ground. And don't let my hands become dry, as the twigs of a tree. When the wind beats down the last leaves, and when the storm raises dust from the earth, with anger and howling, don't let me become the last fly, trembling, terrified on a window pane. Don't let me fall. I've asked for so much, but as a blade of your grass in a distant wild field, let's drop a seed in the lap of the earth, and dies away. Sow in me your living breath, as you sow a seed in the earth.
Baruch atah Adonai, rofei kol basar u'machli ha'asot.
Matter is never destroyed, only transformed. So too can the soul evolve higher and higher, from instinct to inspiration, haughtiness to holiness, selfishness to service, from individualism to union, to join with the souls of soul, the infinite one. As the soul is magnified and sanctified, so is the infinite one exalted.
Baruch atah Adonai, asher biyado nefesh kol chai, v'ruach kol basar ish. Now, starting on page 198, we have a group of prayers called Nisim B'chol Yom, the miracles that we experience or we pray we will experience every single day. Sadie will be chanting these blessings in Hebrew, and you are invited to chant along with her, and she's going to alternate with the English translations, which I will be leading, and you are welcome to read the English along with me, or you can just do both. So you may choose.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan l'zeh bina, l'hamim ben yom u'ben layla.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who has given the mind the ability to distinguish day from night.
Baruch atah Adonai
splendor.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishani b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asot b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. We continue on page 206. These are the things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of this world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study, morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. We continue on page 218. clay of the universe into delicate vessels of light, and from nothing at all. We could perceive in a world that has turned old a shimmering new creation right before our eyes, made this moment just for us. How much of life reveals your presence, how much Torah unfolds from each new flower, from each new wave that breaks upon the sea. You are praised, who forms from the clay that clothes our lives, the delicate vessels which contain our light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot.
How deeply you have loved us, Adonai, our God, gracing us with surpassing compassion. On account of our forebears who trust fled you to teach them laws of life. Be gracious to us, teaching us well. O merciful one, have mercy on us, by making us able to understand and discern, to heed, learn, and teach, and lovingly to observe, perform, and fulfill all that is in your Torah.
כי אל פועל ישיבותיך ובנה בחרת וקרבתם לשמך הקדוש להביא אמת ויודות לך ויחך ביאהבה ברוך אתה אדוני הנוחר בימו ישראל ביאהבה
hearts, I crossed on dry land, 2 walls of water on my right and on my left. Pharaoh's army and his horsemen behind me. Before me the desert, perhaps the promised land too. That is my life story. to page 250. Please pray silently through page 260 and be seated when your prayers are finished.
in just a moment, we will be turning to Seder Kriyat Torah, the part of our service surrounding the reading of the Torah. But before we get there, I just wanted to say a quick word. First, I hope so far this morning you have found a little bit of light in a week that for so many of us has been filled with darkness, with some fear, with some unexpected challenges that none of us saw coming. And that for Sadie especially, it's been tough. Sadie has had to make some decisions and ask herself some questions about how today is going to proceed. And no 13-year-old should have to make these kinds of decisions. But I have to say, like I said last night, Sadie has approached this day and these questions and challenges with a maturity and a grace and a poise that really has impressed us all. But really, we shouldn't be surprised, because you are like this all the time. And you really are an incredible individual. And it has been our privilege to share this day with you. And we're going to quell over you somewhere later. Yeah, there's more coming. But in this natural pause in the service, I wanted to just recognize that I know there are many, many more people who we wanted to have here today. And so I want to wave at them. Yeah, we can all wave. Wave, hello, everybody at home. We wish you were here with us, but we know you are here with us. And we love them all, and we love you, and we're still so excited, and you have been just, fantastic leading us all on the Bima today. A word about the Torah service that is about to come. There is a traditional part, which is called the Hakafah, which is the parade with the Torah. And in the parade with the Torah, we often kiss the Torah with our talitot. If you do that, great. If it is your talit, and you choose to kiss the Torah with your own talit, great. If you are borrowing a talit from the synagogue or using a prayer book from the synagogue, we ask that you please not kiss the talit or not kiss the siddur, just, in the interest of not spreading any germs of any kind. If anyone wants to take a Purell break, we have Purell throughout the building. If you want to wash your hands at any time, great. We support that. But we also have another book that will be used in this portion of our service called the Chumash. It is a maroon book called Etz Chaim. If any of our upcoming Bat Mitzvah students or past Bat Mitzvah or Bar Mitzvah students want to help pass out these books, like Gloria, Aria, Jack, Becca, if you guys want to help at all, pass out some of the Chumashim to people who want to follow along in Torah reading, we would love to share them with you. We're going to be starting this part of our service on page 362. Page 362, and there's a bunch of people who are going to be invited up to the Bima to help us out. And I would now like to invite up Theo and Fiona Long. They can come on up to help us. And then to help us pass the Torah from generation, guys, to pass the Torah from generation to generation a few moments later, we will invite you up following the Hakafah, so you'll just know that you're kind of on deck. Will be Fred Greenberg, and then Jeff and Izzy, and of course, Sadie's going to come up right now. Everyone else, and Eva will help us undress too, but you'll come up after the Hakafah as well. Everyone else, again, page 362, please rise. Okay, you guys ready? Come on over. See this up here still? You're going to pull on it, and I'm going to go on the track. Beautiful. beginning service, and I just did, so it's okay. I'm sorry about that. And then Sadie, you're going to be right here. Okay, so we're about to live out something called Shalshelet Kabbalah, the chain of tradition, in which we reflect on the ways in which the Jewish tradition is literally going to be passed from generation to generation. We live it out in this moment. The passing of Torah from Fred to Izzy and Jeff. Okay. And then, of course, today to Sadie. Hand your mic. Now, the other day when we were practicing for today, and I asked Sadie, when she was holding the Torah in her hand, what did she feel like she was holding? She had a very real and very candid response. And she said, it's hard to say right now, because right now, based on this week and this weekend, all I can think about is how angry I am. And how angry I am with God, and why these challenges would happen to me. And I think that is such a real and important response to be able to admit. And it's not uncommon for all of us at different times in our lives to feel angry with God. And it's actually really hard to admit that. And so, Sadie, I really welcome the opportunity to talk to you about that more. And I'm sure there are other people in this room too who have had their own struggles. And I'll remind you, and I know that's heavy.
Go on, no, really, go on.
So it was in 1962. But I'll tell you that we are the people of Israel, right? And Yisrael means God wrestlers. We're not just God acceptors, right? We're not just God prayers, right? We're God wrestlers. And so we're going to wrestle with God together. And sometimes that means we're angry with God, okay? And so we're all going to do it together. And I'm here with you to help you do it, okay? So thank you for helping to pass this challenging tradition on to Sadie. And we are now going to continue with the Haggadah. And the priests in the community use this as a blessing. And this is meant to be the Hebrew letter Shin, and it blesses people. And during the service, the people who come from the Kohen, the priestly line, come up to the front and they would bless the rest of the congregation with a special blessing that actually Kendra, Linda, and I will be giving to Sadie later, though we won't use this hand gesture. And Leonard Nimoy, who grew up as an Orthodox Jew, was asked as a Vulcan, by the directors, you're going to be meeting this character, can you come up with some kind of creative hand gesture to greet the other character? And he's thinking, he's like, okay, what about this? And it became, of course, the quintessential Vulcan hand salute. And so I love, as a Jew and as a Trekkie, that this now is like, I can't shake your hand, but live long and prosper. So feel free to greet each other on Shabbat. So Sadie's here in front of the Torah, ready to read from it. She's prepared for so many months. And because of all that preparation, I just wanted to take a few moments to help us all really appreciate all of the time and dedication that went into this preparation. And to that end, we are all going to have a pop quiz. Are you all ready? Okay. Our pop quiz this morning has 3 questions. Oh, these are different 3 questions than we were doing before. 3 questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, your first question this Shabbat morning is, in what language is the Torah written?
Vulcan.
Klingon, I would have also accepted. What language is the Torah written? Gloria? Hebrew. Excellent. Ding, 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 ding. 10 points. So Aramaic is an excellent guess. So we always do get an Aramaic guess. No, Susan, you know that's fine. But Aramaic is a good guess, and some people will say Yiddish sometimes. Aramaic was the spoken language throughout much of biblical times, and there are some prayers in our service that are written in Aramaic, most notably the Kaddish. Aramaic pops up in most of the Talmud, but the Torah itself is written in Hebrew. Yiddish, of course, is a spoken language much later in Jewish tradition. In Eastern Europe, that's a combination of Hebrew and German with just a hint of Russian. So, second question in our pop quiz this morning, ladies and gentlemen. In which direction do we read Hebrew? Yeah?
Right to left?
Excellent, 10 points! From right to left. Okay, so let's think about this for a second. When our students learn, children and adults learn to read Hebrew, they're learning brand new characters. They are learning to read in a direction different from any other language they're probably studying, right? And as if that's not enough, the Hebrew they are learning in the Torah is so old, so ancient, that it even predates the crazy modern inventions of vowels and punctuation, and even the little trope marks, the little marks that tell us how to chant or sing all the words. So, to give you a hint of what that's like, I invite you to picture your first name and remove the vowels from it. And think about, how would anyone know how to pronounce your name properly? So yeah, so say what you just said.
Sud.
Okay, so we've got Sud. We've got I just got a V. Yep. Right, so, right, how would anyone know how to pronounce Sadie's name unless they knew that in this particular context, yeah, what's your name? Just, yep, right? It's so challenging, right? Izzy, also challenging. Right? You're just an onomatopoeia. So Sadie, unless we knew in that S&D, in this context, we learned was Sadie because we studied this context. right? That's how familiar Sadie has had to become with her Torah portion, where she knows, she's able to look at a column of consonants and know how to pronounce every word, how every sentence is going to begin and end and where, and then how to chant every single word. She's practiced it so well on a sheet that had all of those things and then is able to go to the Torah itself and read it precisely. It's incredible. It's an incredible accomplishment. She's worked so hard on it, and we are so, so proud of her. So your third and final question on the Shabbat morning is, what is this morning's Torah portion? Anybody know? Yes? Kitisa. Oh, you got 20 points for that one. Excellent. So as we, many of us know, the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, is divided up consecutively into weekly Torah portions of usually a few chapters each week. And every congregation throughout the entire world, every synagogue is reading the same Torah portion in most circumstances. If they're open. True. Even if they're not open this weekend, they're probably live streaming something. And stay tuned for what we'll be doing next Shabbat. But we're all reading and studying from the same chapters. And so we are in Parshat Ki Tisa, and Sadie's going to be reading from this portion. We'll be on page 529 in the Maroon Etz Chaim book. Page 529, she'll be starting with chapter 32. And you'll see soon, this is a very familiar incident that she'll be reading from. She'll be teaching us about it a little bit later on. And we'll hear about it shortly. Now, it's considered an honor to come up to bless each reading of the Torah. And so for our first Aliyah, it is truly a pleasure to invite up to the bima to bless the first reading, as I get the microphone ready for y'all, Tracy Kleinberg and Amy Conley.
Down to Shabbat 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 Kamed Masha Harishona. Baruch et Adonai Hamorah, Baruch Adonai Hamorah, Baruch Adonai Hamorah Ve'olam La'ed, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim, V'natan Lanu et Torato, Baruch Atah Adonai Notin HaTorah. Amen.
make us a god who shall go before us. For that man Moses, who brought us from the land of Egypt, we do not know what has happened to him. So Moses has been gone a long time. God, who freed them from Egypt and has done all kinds of really incredible things which they've seen with their own eyes, they also haven't heard from for a long time. And they're feeling really, really abandoned, right? They have no leader, they have no sign of God. They're really scared. So they want some God, right? They need some leader. Aaron said to them, and it's interesting because Aaron here is probably feeling like, I don't know what to do with these people. Aaron said, take off the gold rings that are on the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me. The rabbis are very confused here as they study this portion. Like, what do we do with Aaron here? Is this a stalling tactic, or is he going along with this? Should we be upset with him? And all the people took off the gold rings that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. Take your time. It's all right. Go ahead. You didn't know I was done.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. You can stay on get your religious side. You can stay right there. I mean, if you want to stay there, that's okay. And now, for our second aliyah, it is such a joy and honor to invite up to the bima Jeff Cohen and Izzy Greenberg and Fred Greenberg and Lynn Greenberg and Nancy Blahnik. Go get nice and close. Nice and nice.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamorah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch
Baruch Adonai Baruch Adonai Hamorah Olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayikach mi'adam, vayatzar oto ba'heret, vaya'asehu egel masecha, vayamru ele Elohecha Yisrael, asher ha'elucha me'eretz Mitzrayim, vayar Aharon, vayiben mizbeach lefanav, vayikra Aharon, vayomar kach l'Adonai machar, vayashkimu mima'aret, vaya'alu olot, vayagishu shilamim, vayeshev ha'am le'echol b'shato, vayakumu l'tzaveh.
So at this point, Aaron, again, confusingly, right, because he's supposed to be one of God's prophets and he's supposed to be leading the people, but he's still kind of going along with what the Israelites are pressuring him to do. He took all this gold from the people and he casts it into a mold. And we're not sure what size this is. You know, you've got Cecil B. DeMille's version of it in the Ten Commandments. But he makes it into a golden calf, a molten calf. And they all exclaimed, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Egypt." Oh, the sacrilege. And Aaron saw this, and he built an altar before it. And Aaron announced, "Tomorrow shall be a festival of the Lord." Early the next day, the people offered up burnt offerings and brought sacrifices of well-being. They sat down to eat and drink, and then they rose to dance. And it's so human, what they're doing. You know, they felt so lost. They felt so afraid. And you also think They had been slaves in Egypt for 400 years and had been surrounded by Egyptian gods, which were quite physically depicted. And so to all of a sudden have a God that isn't physical, that isn't visual, must have also been a truly foreign, literally foreign idea. And so to have to want to revert to that all of a sudden, and I'm looking at Jody, our resident Egyptologist, to want to revert to that was probably very easy for them to want to do. Now, okay.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam atah b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. You can all stand by him. Okay, we are now at a very exciting moment. We're at our third Aliyah. Now, when you turn 13, according to Jewish tradition, you are a bat mitzvah. It just happens. You wake up on your 13th birthday, you are a bat mitzvah. It's kind of like in America. You turn 16, you turn 18, you turn 21. There's a whole new set of rights available to you just because of your age. It just happens. And so you might think to yourself, well, wait a minute. Okay, it just happens when you turn 13. Why do you do all this? Why do you have the service? Why do you have a luncheon? Why do you need to mark it in this way? Well, of course, as human beings, it's meaningful to us to mark rites of passage with some kind of ritual or celebration. Well, the rabbis recognized this, and they debated amongst themselves, as they like to do, and they said, okay, well, what's the very minimum? What's the very least you need to do to recognize your new status as an adult in the Jewish community? And they decided on this moment, on blessing the reading of the Torah itself. And so in a sense, Sadie, my dear, you have reached your big bat mitzvah moment. And so it is an honor indeed to now call Sadie Cohen to the Torah for the very first time as a bat mitzvah.
Ta'amol, 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 haba mitzvah, Shabbat Yaakov ve'Isabel hashlishi.
So the Lord now, Adonai, all of a sudden kind of tunes into what's going on down there at the foot of the mountain. You know, God and Moses have been talking up there for a while, and all of a sudden, wait a minute, what's going on down there? And so God says to Moses, hurry down, for your people, whom you brought out of the land of Egypt, have acted basely. They've been quick to turn aside from the way that I enjoined upon them. They've made themselves a molten calf, and bowed low to it, and sacrificed to it, saying, this is your God, O Israel, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. And then God further said to Moses, I see that this is a stiff-necked people. So what happens next is, God says, argument. You know, like, oh, let me at him, I'm gonna, and then, you know, the other parent says, now calm down, it's gonna be okay, let's figure out how we're gonna discipline our children, you know. Oh yeah, but and so Moses and God have that kind of conversation. And Moses eventually calms God down, but interestingly enough, when Moses actually goes down off the mountain and sees what's been going on and what Aaron has allowed to happen, does anybody know what Moses does? Anybody remember? He breaks the tablets. Moses happens to be carrying the Ten Commandments, the first set, and he's so upset, he shatters the Ten Commandments. And that moment of just temper and also probably devastation and disappointment is also just so real, you know. Our characters, our ancestors are so human. Now what's interesting, one of my favorite teachings, just as a coda to this, is that eventually a second set of tablets is made of 10 Commandments. And what the Israelites wind up carrying in the Holy Ark throughout the rest of their journey in the desert, in the wilderness, on their way to the land of Israel is both sets. The perfect set and the broken set. To remind us that both are holy. Both the perfect and the broken. And of course Leonard Cohen sings about that in Hallelujah. The holy and the broken. Hallelujah. So, I hope that you can all, you need to do your blessing. And then we've got a big Amen. Okay, now I hope you will all join me in a big Yasher Koach, meaning may you continue to be strong for Sadie. Yasher Koach! Mazel tov! Thank you all. You may all return to your seats. One moment, Jeff. Now, while the Torah is in our midst, and we feel an extra bit of connection with the divine, we take a moment to offer prayers of healing. We should bear off prayer for our family members, for community members, for those in our world who need prayers of healing, prayers of strength. So if you have someone in your life for whom you are praying, for whom you are sending prayers of comfort, if you'd like to say their names out loud or in your hearts, I invite you to do so now.
Gerald Schultz, David Vanderstel. Ginger.
Stephen Cohen.
ישבח אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, באמותינו, שרה ורבקה לאה ורחל, יברך וירפא את כל החולים האלה. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Leah, and Rachel, bless and heal all who are ill, all who are sick, all who are in pain. We pray, God, that they return to that precious feeling of shleimut, of peacefulness and wholeness, that healing of mind and body and spirit for which we all long for and pray for. Baruch atah Adonai, Rofeh Cholim. We praise you, God, who cares for the sick. Now let us all sing together. Amen. And now, even though Sadie read so beautifully for us this morning, all adult Jews are actually responsible for reading and studying Torah every Shabbat. So, we have a ritual called Haggadah, in which the Torah is lifted up and turned around and shown to the congregation. Thanks, Jeff.
Well, she gave me the eyes.
Oh, who gave you the eyes? There were eyes. So, Jeff Cohen is coming up to lift up the Torah. So, you all will see the text that Sadie just read, and you'll get portion every week has a corresponding Haftarah portion, which translates to a concluding portion, and it comes from elsewhere in the Hebrew Bible. The Hebrew Bible, the Tanakh, has 3 sections: the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. Then there's the Nevi'im, the prophets, dudes like Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Micah, all of the prophets. And then you have the writings, that's Psalms, Proverbs, Job, Esther, which, we have, by the way, Purim tonight at 5 p.m. And we most often, 99% of the time, have the Haftarah portions come from the books of prophets. They correspond thematically to the Torah portion. And we've asked, why do we have Haftarah portions? And one of the theories most suggested is that there were times in Jewish history where we weren't allowed access to our holy book by our oppressors, by those who were persecuting us and trying to keep us from studying our text. And so the oppressors didn't realize we had other holy texts, and so we found selections from the books of prophets that were similar enough to the Torah portion that they reminded us that they were almost mnemonic devices that said, okay, well, they remind us of either a holiday or a observance or a theme in the weekly Torah portion. So you'll notice in this Haftarah portion for Ki Tisa about the golden calf, there's going to be a discussion happening here about foreign gods and which god, Adonai, or a foreign god, is superior. So Sadie will continue with the Haftarah portion.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nbi'im tovim v'rasa b'divrehem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai haboher b'torah. Ha'omer b'torah u'Moshe abdo u'Yisrael amo u'yeh ha'emet v'tzedek. Vayishlach bechol bnei Yisrael vayipot et ha'ni'im el har ha'karmel. Baruch. Ahab called all Israel together and gathered the prophets at Mount Carmel. Elijah stepped forward and said to the people, "How long are you going to hop between 2 opinions? If the Eternal is God, follow the Eternal. If Baal is God, follow Baal." The people made no answer. Then Elijah said, "I am the only prophet of the Eternal left, and there are 450 prophets of Baal. Let us have a couple of bowls. They can choose one, chop it up, and lay the pieces on the wood, but do not put fire underneath it. I will prepare the other bowl, lay it on the wood without putting fire under it. You then call upon your God, and I will call upon the Eternal. The one who answers by fire is the real God." The people answered, "Well said." Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam.
Your self-awareness is incredible. And we have talked about your passion. And if you continue to channel that passion, there are so many different ways I can see you pinging off of everywhere. And for you to hold on to that and never let that go. It would be the continuation of the gifts that you have already given us today. So it is my honor, and I'm going to miss working with you, but I'm not going to, I know I'm still going to see you, right? Yes. We still have a guest here to finish out. Hopefully we will be back in session before the end of the year. And you're going to be continuing your studies. And it is my honor to give to you a couple of things. First of all, this well-earned Dot your certificate. For all the incredible work you have done and marking this milestone day. And there are two other gifts. I have Renee reopened a complimentary certificate to the JCC, and you can work off some of that energy, some of those focus down at the JCC Community Center, as well as a trip that I hope you really do get to take, a $250 gift certificate through our youth organization, NIFTY, to get to go to Israel. So, these are for you, my dear, and mazel tov to you and your family and friends all over the place who are with us physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in all the different ways that they can be. These are yours, and again, I won't.
Boy, should we sit down? No, you all right? So, my dear Sadie, here you are, with hopefully a sense of accomplishment that you, as I said to you, and behind the scenes, you've brought all these pieces together over such a long time, and you now know you can accomplish anything. I mean, I know you've accomplished incredible things so far in your life. I know you're brilliant. I know you're talented. I know you have so many successes already in your life. But look at what you've done here. You've learned so many things. You've put together so many pieces. You know, I've talked to friends who, for their B'nai Mitzvah, have just learned a little bit of Torah. You know, or they've just done the blessing over the Torah portion. Like, that's all they had to do. You ran our entire service. You did Torah, you did Haftarah, you wrote a speech. It's incredible. You basically stood up here as really a shaliach tzibur, right? That's a complicated term, which means a messenger on behalf of the community. You led us and sent all of our prayers up to God. You were the messenger for all of us. That's an important responsibility, and it's something you're not really allowed to do until you are a bar or bat mitzvah. And you took that responsibility very seriously, and you owned it. And I don't know if you've thought at all about being a rabbi or a cantor, but I think you could do that very well, very ably, and very confidently. So, you know, just planting a seed. And if you ever wanted to do that, it would be pretty cool. You are a gift to us. I am so glad that you nudged your parents those few years ago, because all four of you are a gift to us. And I so adore you all, each in your own way. I've treasured the opportunity to get to know each one of you, and it's a privilege, as I've said, to stand here with you today. I pray for you, Sadie, that there is a takeaway from the challenges you've had today, and that when you look back, you say, wow, yeah, there were parts of that that were really, really hard. But boy, was it still filled with light, and was it still filled with love, and it still felt great. I'm so proud of you. I pray that you will be blessed with good health, that you'll be surrounded by joy, by love, by family, by friends, that your dreams will come true, and that you'll just have the opportunity to pursue any path which you seek with the bravery, the courage, the knowledge and awareness that you have used throughout this process as well. It's now truly a privilege to bless you, not using this hand gesture, but it's pretty cool. But that blessing in front of the open ark with Cantor Belinda, we will offer you the priestly blessing. Please rise. Let's stand. That's why we were in the right shoes.
You do good.
May God bless you and keep you. May God's light always shine on you and be gracious to you. May God's presence always be with you on this path that you're on, as it's filled with plenty of learning experiences. And may you be filled with shlemut and shalom, with wholeness and peacefulness every step of that way. Can you Ratzon, may this be God's will. Amen. We will now remain standing and turn to our concluding prayers, beginning with Aleinu, page 586, in the middle of the page. of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at the season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. On behalf of the Cohen family, we also think of all of those family members who we wish could have been with us in body, and those whom we have lost, but we know are with us here in spirit. And so we are remembering especially Judy Cohen, Betsy Berger, Larry Berger, Dean Allison, Jeannie Connors, Judy Harms, Ingy Greenberg, and Ronnie Greenberg. The community of CBSRZ is also marking the recent passing of Colleen Brewer. If you are marking a Shiva Shloshim, the first 12 months of mourning, or a Yortzeit and you'd like to share a name out loud, please feel free to do so now. And Adelaide Bellows. Zichronam Livracha, may all of their memories always be for a blessing. Together now we join in the words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'alman tibrach v'yutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayei chon v'yomei chon v'chayei kol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah v'varach le'olam u'amei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kedusha b'richu. Le'elah kol birchata v'shirata. Tush birchata v'nechemata. Damiran yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shalom Rabbah v'yishemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom v'rama, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say together, Amen.
Please be seated. We will conclude our service on page 643 with Havana Shira.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Actually, I like it. So you can go back as well.
That's what I'm going to do. Good times.
I'll make it up to you. And you feel myself will be my joy.
Thursday for the regular Thursday, again, before your limits. We just sat here, and talked all day afternoon. She was